Good morning, everybody. Today is January 11th, 2022. Welcome to FLT number 5. Today's topic will be to bait or not to bait, and that is for deer in specific. But as usual, we're going to kick things off with an article of the day. And also, like usual, I am drinking my Black Rifle coffee. Today's roast is not Fit Fuel. I am drinking Freedom Roast today. And I do like my coffee with creamer. I cannot drink it black like some of you psychos out there. I put some creamer in there, and this is my favorite type of coffee there is. But today's article is a sad one. This one comes from Newsweek, and it is titled, World Shooting Champion Died After Accidentally Shooting Himself During Hunting Trip. And in this story, it was a junior champion. He died in a freak accident while he was hiking with his friends. His name was Christian Gilly. He was 19 years old and an Italian world junior skeet champion. And apparently it says he shot himself in the stomach while he was bending over to pick up spent cartridges. So I don't know if that means he had the gun on like his hip, or he was holding his gun and it misfired, or he accidentally hit the trigger. I'm not too sure. The article is not very specific, but he shot himself in the stomach and he died very quickly after the gunshot wound. And I just wanted to go over that article very quickly with that, but I would like to go over gun safety. Guys, the number one rule of firearm safety is always treat a weapon like it's loaded. And don't point it at anyone unless you intend to shoot them and you're in danger. Don't point your gun or weapon at anything you do not intend to shoot. There's a ton of firearm safety tips that you guys should know as hunters, and you guys should know if you guys are handling a firearm in general. I know in New Jersey last year there was a couple of fatal accidents during shotgun week in general on state land. I believe a son accidentally shot his father while they were out hunting. The father was ahead of him, and he accidentally hit his trigger and ended up killing his father. So there was a bunch of sad stories coming out of New Jersey last year. When I say a bunch, it was probably like 2 or 3, but that's still a bunch when there should be 0 coming out of the hunting world right there. Please, please, please practice gun and weapon safety. And even if you guys are bow hunting, make sure your bow is tuned up, your string is not worn and old. Make sure you're shooting the right arrows, and if you're gun hunting, make sure you're shooting the right cartridges. Please don't put a 20 gauge shell into a 12 gauge shotgun. Please point the weapon in a safe direction at all times, and only pick it up and take it off safety if the animal or the target is in front of you ready to shoot. I cannot stress that enough. It's just a number one rule that you guys gotta keep in mind. And to stray off that a little bit more, tree stand safety, please wear your safety harnesses. I can't tell you how many times I've heard stories, and a couple of my friends that actually fell from the stand because they weren't wearing a safety harness, and they broke their legs, or they broke a leg or a hip, or actually lost their lives. So there's another story with that, but we'll get into that at a later time. But let's get on to the topic of to bait or not to bait. And I'm basically going to go over pros and cons of baiting and let you guys decide for yourself. And first off, to bait or not to bait. First off, if it's legal in your state or not legal in your state, that's a big one right there. If it's legal, then you have the option to bait or not to bait. But if it's illegal, then you cannot bait. So that's a quick one right off the bat. So let's go over the pros real quick of baiting. And when I say baiting, it's more than not, it's always corn, like shelled corn or cracked corn, but just baiting in general, attracting deer to a specific location with food. So some pros, you will be able to place less precise stand locations, aka you don't have to have the stand in a perfect location when you have bait there, because you can just put that stand in a general area. Even if it's not on the perfect trail, you can put that bait pile 20 yards off that trail or 50 yards, or if it has a good scent, then it's going to attract them deer in the area to your bait pile. So you're not limited on where you have to put that stand per se. Number two, shot placement. Okay, if we are talking about an ethics game, bait is the number one way to go. If you are baiting and a deer comes into your bait pile, or not even just a deer, a bear, a boar, no matter what it is, if they come into your bait pile, it is 1,000 times more effective or more of a probability of getting a clean, ethical shot, not moving. The deer won't know you're there because they're too busy eating corn, and all you have to do is wait for them to come in. They're not spooky. They come in slow. They turn broadside, and you have a perfect shot. And you don't even have to pick up a rangefinder, because if you have your corn pile out there and you could range that corn pile and you know, okay, that corn pile is 20 yards. If that deer comes in and he starts feeding, I know it's going to be 20 yards. It's going to be first pin or it's going to be second pin. And all I have to do is settle it and make a good shot. And it's going to be just like target shooting, because the deer is not going to be moving 95% of the time. And it also helps younger hunters for shot placement and just hunters in general with bait. But the younger hunters with shot placement, it teaches them to settle the pin. They can basically, in their mind, they can talk themselves over, like, okay, I have to settle my pin, I have to control my breathing, I have to squeeze the trigger, not slap the trigger, and follow through, just squeeze and just watch the arrow through my sight connect to the target. They could just walk themselves through it, or if someone's with them, they could walk them through it, because 90% of the time, and you know what, I'm going to change younger hunters to new hunters, because I don't care how old you are. If you're new to hunting, then you're going to experience the same thing. So if you got the jitters up, you got buck fever before you even take the shot, the deer's coming in, and your nerves are just everywhere, and you're losing your mental checklist right off the rip with every second that passes by. So if someone's with you and they're talking you through, it's like, okay, settle down, settle that pin, squeeze the trigger. It gives them more time. It's not like you're hunting a random trail and here comes the deer and you have a 10-second window to make a shot or not, and before you know it, that deer is gone, or you made a bad shot because you rushed it and you have the jitters, and you just want to make the best shot possible. So if we were talking an ethics game, bait over not bait, 100% bait if you want to take a cleaner, easier shot most of the time. Also, in certain situations, baiting will improve the deer's health, because if a deer only has acorns, and let's say you're able to plant a food plot, because that's technically considered baiting, but we're going to stick to like putting down a corn pile in this scenario. So it does improve a deer's health. We're not going to include agriculture. So even if you put out minerals for the deer, it's going to make them healthier. You're providing a food source for them that's different from what they have. So a lot of times for deer in New Jersey and most states up north, all they really have is like grass, maybe a cornfield, and they have acorns. That's really most of the natural stuff that they have in the woods. Maybe some foliage or berries, wild berries that's out there. But that's really all they have. So if you could add corn or minerals or like a hay mixture of some sort that helps them with digestion, it's going to be a great thing. It will improve the deer's health, because instead of them starving, they're going to have a food source, obviously. So I highly suggest that. And also Racketer Scents and Lures, they have a great forage block. It's basically made up of like a hay fall apart material. I actually don't even know what's in it, so I can't speak too much on it. I just know the deer love it during the winter months. It will get them through. Instead of just feeding them just corn, you mix the block in with the corn, and when they eat both of them, it helps them with digestion. It won't just be hard for them to digest just corn. So that's basically takes the place of them eating grass after they eat the corn, and it just helps with their digestion in the long run. Another pro to this will be you can control the situation. Basically bring the deer to you. And it's going to most likely bring in all of the deer in the surrounding areas. And when I say you can control the situation, you can basically just, and this kind of ties back into like a less precise stand location, but you can just go into any piece of woods and just drop like a 50-pound bag of corn, spread it out, add some good smelly stuff like a acorn attractant or vanilla attractant or apple or persimmon or pumpkin or wild cherry. I don't know. There's a bunch of different nice smelly scents that you can put out there. So if you just mix that with a corn pile and you let it soak for a week, you're going to have most of the deer in that area on your corn pile within that first week. And that helps you helps you with scouting. If you don't have time to do the scouting, so let's say baiting is illegal in your state, and the only time you can gain good intelligence is either boots on the ground or with a trail camera out, hopefully on a trail. You might get some deer on that trail camera, but it's not going to maximize your efforts. So if you just put a little bit of corn in front of that camera, or 50 pounds of corn, and every deer that walks within 100 yards of that smells that, then they're most likely going to come in and at least check it out. Even if they don't feed, they're going to come in and smell it, maybe eat a little bit and leave. And even if that's the only picture of them on camera, you know they are in the area. So instead of just putting it on a trail and hoping they walk by, then you have that good intelligence, especially if you cannot get out all the time. Baiting is a great way to help you with intel on what deer are in the area. And we're going to go on to cons now. So the first con on the list is that you have to bait regularly for it to be effective. So if you just put a bag of corn out one time over the course of like 1 month or the whole season, it's not going to do anything. You're going to have deer come in for the first week that find it, and then it's going to go away, and that's going to be the end of it. It's not going to help you at all. So for a con aspect of this, the baiting regularly, and this is going to tie into a lot of the cons after this. They all are going to pertain to baiting regularly right now. So if you just bait one time, they're not going to know it as an established food source. So they're just going to come in, find it, they'll be like, ooh, some food and some random food, and then they might come back one more time to get some more food and it not be there. So they're just going to go off and then really never come back if they have no reason to. It's just going to be a spot that used to have food there. So if you're going to bait, you have to bait regularly. And if you bait regularly, that means a couple of things. It takes a decent amount of money. It takes a lot of human activity going through that section. And you're leaving a lot of scent behind. So let's talk about the money aspect. Food is not cheap for these animals. Okay. And each year the price of like a 40 or 50 pound bag of corn goes up a couple of dollars. So it used to be like $5 for a 40 or 50 pound bag of corn. And now it's like $8.99 for a 40 pound bag, and probably like $15 for a 50 pound bag, depending where you go, obviously. Or if you're baiting with apples, or if you're baiting with like a bushel of like corn cobs or pumpkins. It's not cheap. And if you have to bait every couple of days, depending on your deer herd, like most of my spots, I have between 10 and 15 deer that will hit the corn or bait pile with over the course of 2 days. So if all them deer come in overnight, or if it's a good night and every deer comes in, that bait is most likely going to be gone the next day. So if I can only bait once a week and I put my corn out and then it's gone the next day, that spot is going to be stagnant for a week. And if I can't get back there to bait, then it's going to go quiet for a little bit until I can bait again, and then it's going to be quiet for a couple of days until they find out the food's back. So, and that's actually been happening with me right now in New Jersey. We had some snow and it's been flooding. So if we have heavy rain in this one spot, we can't cross the river to get to the bait pile. There's just absolutely no way, unless we wear muck boots, or not muck boots, unless we wear waders to cross the creek. And yes, that is an option if we really, really, really want to bait it, but that's a lot of extra added work of trying not to get wet. So we'd rather just let it play out for a day or two and let the river go down to get in there. So we just had I'm down in Florida, so everyone else just had a big snowstorm, not a big one, but it's like a 6-inch snowfall up there. And right after that, it rained a lot. So the river was probably like nipple height. So you needed a pair of waders to get across that creek. And when you're looking on the cell camera of the deer coming in to check it, like the first day when there was corn there, they hammered it. The next day there was nothing there. And that's when the snow fell. So they came in, they checked for it. There was only like one or two picture of each deer that came in because they looked, saw no corn was there, and they left. And then the next day, they might have checked one more time. And then since that time, it's really been quiet. You have like a doe here or there trying to come in. And once there's no corn there, it's going to be quiet until you put that corn back out there. And that's been the experience in a lot of spots that we had. And then onto human activity and too much scent left behind. You want to leave as little scent as possible, and you want to go into the woods as little as possible to access your stand, the hunt, to make it the most effective hunt that you can have. So if you're going in there every day, every single day, and you don't control your scent for like one of those days, and you leave a lot of scent behind and probably the wrong scent most of the time, if it's a mature buck, he's going to come in, say, this doesn't smell right, and be out of there. And there's been a lot of arguments about neighborhood deer or backyard bucks. So if you are within like 100 yards of a house or just a business or a road in general, people call them backyard bucks, which I don't know why. I mean, I understand if you're hunting in someone's backyard to call it a backyard buck or close to it. But even with that scenario, let's say you are hunting in a backyard or a backyard buck within 100 yards of someone's backyard, obviously, if they're used to people. So if they're used to people and they're coming in and they're hitting the corn and they're all nice and dandy coming in, no issue. But if they get a wrong scent, or let's say you're hunting that area, just for the analogy aspect of it, let's say you're hunting that area, even though they're used to humans and they're used to human scent. I heard a great analogy one time. It's basically like smelling. If you're in your front yard and you smell smoke, you're like, okay. So for a deer, if you're just in like grazing across someone's front yard and you smell human scent, you're like, okay, yeah, they live here, cool. And then if you're in your bedroom and you smell smoke, the two different reactions. So if a deer is in the woods in his bedding area and he smells smoke, then he's going to booger on out of there. He's going to be concerned. He's going to be on high alert. So if he smells human scent in someone's front yard, he's like, okay, whatever. That's why he's friendly and he sticks around. As soon as he goes into the wood, he's back in deer mode. And if he smells human scent, he's on high alert. So that's basically that aspect. But if you're going into your spot to bait every 2 days, let's just say, or twice a week, yes, you have to bait regularly for the bait to be effective. But the little human activity as possible is also most effective. So you have to like weigh the options. You have to really take control of your scent to do this effectively, whether you take a shallow creek all the way to your bait pile to bait every single time to leave no scent behind, which is a great tactic, by the way, or you just really spray up and down and control where you wear your hunting clothes or your boots or whatever you're wearing. Make sure you're not super sweaty walking into your stand or bait pile location, because they're going to smell it. And for the last thing on the cons list that I have, if you don't care about this, then this might just be a mental thing, or if you care what people think, but there's a lot of negative stigma around baiting for deer. Not even just like the anti-hunters or the people that don't hunt. It's a lot in the hunting community as well. You get a lot of harsh feedback from it. Most of the out west hunters, it's all spot and stalk, or you're sitting on trails from their bedding to the feeding area, that it's an ethics thing and X, Y, and Z. And I don't know how much ethics take away from it, but this comes back to the pros and cons list. If you're going to say it's more ethical to not hunt over bait and just try and hunt them naturally, so you're just out there trying to pick one off while it's living its most natural life as possible, but that also lowers the risk of, or lowers the effectiveness of your shot a lot of the times. If you're just hunting a trail and this deer is, let's just say, chasing a doe coming on through, and you only have a 10-second window and you stop them for like 0.2 seconds to take a shot, then it happens very quick, versus a deer is coming into a bait pile. It's coming in slow. It's coming in calm. It just wants to come eat, and it stops like a target. It's basically a target, and you're just sending an arrow through it a lot of the time if you're hunting over bait. And ethically, that's the better way to do it, because if you're taking a shot at an animal, you want it to be as clean as possible, and then that's the only way with bait. So if you're going to say hunting is ethical in general, then you have to say baiting is ethical in general. Because if you want to take a clean shot, then baiting is the best way to do it. So if you're okay with dealing with that negative stigma, so like I post a lot of YouTube videos, obviously, and I get some feedback, and it's like, oh, you're just baiting them to a slaughterhouse, and they're coming in, and you're just baiting them there. I hear that from a lot of different people, and I hear people say, well, if you took corn out of that shot, out of that video shot, then you would have got more views. First off, I really don't care about the views. Okay, I record these for myself and my own personal interest. That's what started it all. I liked recording my hunts. And I'm not going to change how I hunt just to change the amount of views I get. I absolutely love that there's people out there that love listening to my content. I started this for myself and just to watch back the shots that I make on these animals and to relive the memories, because it's what my dad did. He loved reliving the memories with pictures, and now that I have video, I love rewatching my hunts, and I try and do it as professionally as possible. And the fact that other people enjoy this stuff too, and that it's relatable content, and that now I'm helping people out with these tips and tactics and these FLT talks and how-to videos, it's just a whole trickle-down effect. If you could deal with the negative stigma of baiting on some of these hunts, then go for it, because it's, in my opinion, you can make your own decision on the pros and cons over it, whether you can, if you want to bait or not. If you could take some Harry, Bill, or whoever is talking to you and he's like, you're not a real hunter because you're baiting, then bait if you think it's the right thing to do. For me, in my own personal opinion, the fact that New Jersey allows baiting, I'm going to take advantage of it during certain hunts and get as much intel as possible. If I can bring them in closer for a better experience, then that's what I'm going to do. I like hearing deer breathe while I'm hunting. Like my biggest buck I've ever shot, I nicknamed him Spartan. I shot that deer at 6 yards, and during that hunt, I had 2 deer within a yard of myself. And I wasn't even in an actual blind. I was in a makeshift stick blind that I found all these branches and leaves, and I put them all together in like a dome. And I had 2 deer within a yard of it. I had one very old, very smart velvet buck eating the leaves off the front of my blind. So if I could get experiences like that with baiting, then I'm going to use it all day long. It makes for insane experiences, insane footage, and an easy shot. If the deer is close enough that I could just stab it with a knife, then it's going to be an easy shot with the bow and arrow or gun, whatever you're using. So in my opinion, baiting is the right way to go if it's allowed and it's legal. Take advantage of it and just do it the right way. In my opinion, if you just take 50-pound bag of corn and just dump it in a pile, you can not only look stupid, it's unnatural, and the deer know it's not natural just for there to be a mound, a pyramid of corn out in the woods. Take it and throw it all around the woods if you're going to bait. Like, if you have a bucket of corn, just reach both hands in there and just throw it up. Just throw it straight up, like you're LeBron James doing the powder trick coming out of the locker room. Just throw it everywhere, scatter it around, kick leaves on it, make it hard for them to get, like it's falling from the trees like acorns do. They're everywhere. They look through the leaves to try and get all these acorns. They could do the same thing with corn. So, and especially if you guys have bear in your area, if you spread that corn around, it's going to make it much harder for the bear to wipe out your corn pile. Because this year I have heard a lot of complaints about, the bears are just annihilating my corn pile. It's not even worth baiting. And that actually happens to Rob now. He's living up in northern New Jersey, and every time he baited, he had a bear come in and just sit there for an hour and a half, just lapping up all the corn he just put out. So to combat that, you basically just take 2 hands in there and throw that corn 30 yards out, 30 yards wide, and just get the camera in that general direction, and you're going to get every deer that eating it. It might not be a close picture of it, but if the deer is there eating it, you're going to get at least a picture of him. And if a bear comes in, he may spend 20 minutes there or half hour for him. But if you can only get one kernel of corn at a time, a lot of times they're just going to get bored with it and leave because it's not efficient for them. Or they're just going to lay there and for like 2 hours and just suck up every piece of corn that they could get, but it's not going to be every piece of corn, which is the good thing. So if you're going to bait, do it the right way. And again, we're talking about baiting again, so I always have to bring up Gerard at Racket or Scents and Lures. He makes amazing products. He's located in New Jersey. If you're listening to this podcast from New Jersey, reach out to him. He's a very friendly, relatable guy. Just reach out to him on Instagram, Facebook, or email, Racket Scents and Lures. So we are coming around a half hour right now on this Tuesday morning. It's time for me to go hit the gym and go to work. This was a little bit shorter of a FLT, but you guys make up your own mind on to bait or not to bait. Leave in the comments below, if you guys are listening to this on YouTube, what your opinions are of baiting. And if you guys don't like baiting, please tell me why you guys don't like baiting. I understand the arguments, and I also like doing deer drives. I don't just bait. I do spot and stalks. I do deer drives. I do a rattling and grunting sequence. I call the deer in. So let me know why you guys do not like to bait if you guys feel that way. But if you guys are listening to this on Spotify or Anchor or Apple Podcast, any listening platform, share this out there and let your buddies know to join the FLT Talks every morning at, I always try and do 6 a.m., but between 6, 7, 8 a.m., it's just life. I can't do it every single day on schedule always. It's just how it is. So please share this video. Share it with your fellow outdoorsmen if you guys are liking this content so far. If you guys are not liking this content, or if you feel some type of way or have feedback for me, constructive criticism, I always take that very well. And even if you tell me to screw off, I will take that as well, and I won't screw off, and I will continue making these videos. But if you guys have constructive criticism, please let me know in the comments, or if you like it, tell me why you like it. Thank you guys. Enjoy your Tuesday. Get after it. Hit the gym like I'm about to go do. Make that money. If you guys are hunting, double lung your big buck or catch a new 10-pound bass, personal best. And that is it, guys. Thank you for listening to FLT Talk number 5, to bait or not to bait. Tune in tomorrow for FLT number 6. I am Mike with Obviously Outdoorsman. Peace, guys.